Seems like TikTok hasn't gone live on this one. So this one will be everything except TikTok. I can't be bothered to start the stream again for the sake of that. Let me just check all the other streams are working. Yep, so YouTube is up. Let's try Twitch. I think Twitch must be up because there's people on, obviously. Let me just check. Yeah, all good. So, Facebook, check this. Yeah, showing live. So I think we're good everywhere. I don't think the notifications are working either, to be honest, because nobody's getting notifications anymore when we go live. And YouTube is constantly never showing the right count either. But looks like we're all good though. I think all the stream is stable. Right, so I better get started with this anyway. This is a job we've got to try and get through for Christmas. We've got tons of consoles. We have in, so many of you have probably seen the Atari 2600, the larger model that I have somewhere here. So this is the Big Brother. This is like the original. And this is the Junior, it's called. So this is a much smaller version. So a customer's ordered one of these, and we just need to do a composite mod on it because they don't actually come with composites. They come with RF. So obviously most people now only have RF. So this is going to be a composite upgrade. Evening, welcome in. Yeah, you got the notification this time. It didn't go live on. I went out to get a drink at the start of the stream and didn't keep an eye on what was going on. And I don't think TikTok started. I haven't seen the error though, because obviously I wasn't in the room. I've got a warning down here, unread notification. Just telling me my mic was muted. You ever know it was because I was getting a coffee. No, it didn't tell me. That's the one thing with Streamlabs I'll find, that when it doesn't go live on one of the services, it's kind of a pain because you've got no choice but to either end the stream and start again and hope it happens to work, which pisses all the other places off because then, you know, you're ending streams for apparently no reason, or you just have to roll with it. So we don't have TikTok at the minute, which is a big part of the audience. But to be honest, the YouTube and Twitch are starting to grow now, so that's a good thing. But we'll see. I haven't done a stream, been that busy with the crazy amount of work for Christmas. I haven't actually done a public stream for probably about a week or so, so this will probably be a while till people click and we're online. Anyway, so Atari 2600. I've got two because these are just stock at the minute. We don't even know if they work. If they don't work, I've probably got to fix it. And the other issue is I don't have anything for RF around me. I haven't got a VCR at the minute, so we can either install the clean comp on this one. This has just been opened up. We haven't done anything yet. Or I could do a basic test and power it up with a game and use the oscilloscope. So considering the subs want to see more of the oscilloscope stuff anyway, and I didn't do one on Wednesday, we'll probably pull out an oscilloscope on this to, I guess, show you how to tell if this Atari is alive without having any video output. So it's a perfect use case for using the scope. So for those that don't know, the Ataris won't boot or do anything without a game in. You won't see anything on screen. And then obviously with a game in, we will. And then what I'm going to do, so that I kind of showed you the... this cage hasn't been removed yet, has it? I don't think. I showed you the picoscope, the subs I did anyway, sub-onlys. I showed you the picoscope on the last one. I'm going to show you a desktop handheld version this time, just so you get an idea of the different versions of scope. Plus, I actually have barely used it, so you can probably see me struggle to find the settings I want and see if it's any good. And I mentioned on that stream as well that there's a reason I always use picoscope. because you'll see when I show you the scope in a minute why I say that. Because you'll see how much more difficult the other one is to see. Right, so what we have is the connector here for the game, which now, again, this shows how little I've worked on the juniors and can remember. On the original Ataris, the game's going this way, facing the opposite way you might think. I'm not even 100% sure if on the juniors they changed that to this way around. I'd literally have to Google an image, to be honest, of a junior with a game in, because I can't remember. I'd expect them to be that way, to not to have flipped the orientation, but let's just double check that. Atari 2600 Junior game direction. Won't do any harm pointing backwards, it just won't load. But if we're dealing with a console we're not even sure if it loads yet, then it's going to add extra confusion. Yeah, there we go. So pointing that way, basically, is the way. Power supply at the minute, I only have a really cheap, dirty converter. So this is a really cheap 9-volt 1 amp DC. We've sold all the others to customers. They're decent transformer based, and I haven't made the clean power yet. So it's just a DC that we then use this little adapter to get a mono 3.5mm jack. So this works, but we're going to get video noise on screen, which obviously won't be present on when I'll have to buy one of these in, basically for the customer, like a decent power supply. But for our testing, it won't matter. So we plug the power in the back there. The other funny thing with these is when you plug them in, they're actually dead short because you're sliding, you know, the positive and negative through a spring that at some point shorts out them pins. So try and insert the plug quickly or unplug it before you plug it in there. And then if you're unsure what all these switches are, you can obviously just get the frontage up and take a look. So you have the power on and off here, so off, down, up, colour and black and white, colour at the top, black and white at the bottom. And then these are push buttons for the select and reset. So on this, you can see the buttons over here aren't present because they're on the front case. So these two squidgy push ones connect via a ribbon over here. But the other mechanical ones for on and off and black and white are there. So we've got something there. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, this is why when I first had one, I did exactly that. You naturally face these the wrong way, and you'd be surprised how many people think they've got an Atari that doesn't work just because it's facing the wrong way. I don't know whether that was an oversight. Surely it was an oversight by the designers at the time. That was never meant to be, surely. So what we're going to do now is, because I don't know whether this works or not, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't, but hopefully it does, because, like I say, I want to get the clean comp installed. So this is I don't even know how you pronounce that. They're quite popular now. I've seen quite a lot of tools. I think I've just brought a few sets of tools from them as well. Is this one? No, that's a different make. I'm sure I've just brought a screwdriver from them. No. Maybe I'm dreaming. Maybe I saw it online and didn't. Yeah, I don't think I have. But yeah, these basically, I've tried tons of oscilloscopes, like probably 50 plus oscilloscopes in the last few years. This is a really good one. Quite expensive, but this is actually good. It's still not as good as Picoscope, and you still can't do what I need to do or what I'd like to do. So if I'm doing any kind of serious scoping, I still wouldn't use this, but you'll see why in a minute. Well, you might not fully understand it if you don't know oscilloscopes yet, but I'll give you a go at explaining and showing why. Right, so to probe anything, we need a ground point. So I'm just going to go on the shield, big fat ground plane down here, and just tack on a ground. That's good enough for us. Shouldn't really tack that on while it's plugged into the mains, because especially my Walla, because it passes mains voltage through the ground because the tip's grounded. But I was fine that time. But yeah, try and not solder wires when things are plugged in here. Right, so grip the probe on, and then if we just take a look at this board, we can just see, quickly show you over here, you've got the regulator here. So this is an LM340T, So I don't know if that's a switching reg or just a standard 5-volt low dropout. Can't see any components. It must just be an LDO, just with a slightly different number. So if we turn on the switch here, you can see the light comes on, and then we can probe on here. Again, you wouldn't normally use oscilloscopes for this. So you can see there's the oscilloscope. I'll probe what I presume is the input. You can see the voltage go up to the top. So if I do, I think, why does it say channel 2? Channel 1, there we go. Plus and minus there. So this has now got a bar. You can see measurements down here. And it's saying the voltage is 0.87 volts, which obviously isn't right. So the first thing we'll have to do is set this thing up for 1 to 10. So you can see this is where I mentioned to the subs on the last stream. Some scopes have this. So see this 1 times and 10 times probe. So I generally run at a 10 times, just without going into detail. 10 times is generally what you want to run, not 1, for many reasons. So now I need to figure out on this screen. So let me zoom in for you, because like I say, I rarely use this, so every time I pull it back out, I forget how to do it. What we're looking for is somewhere on the channel to set, probably down here. There we go. So see how it's different, but you've got the 1 times, 10 times, and 100. We can set the 10. There's that AC and DC coupling we saw on the last one. So we'll leave that on. Bandwidth limit, this is where I say you can put the 20 meg bandwidth limit on, which I'd recommend. It just makes the signal a little bit cleaner. And now that we should be able to probe on the input. And there you go. Now we see an accurate voltage peak of 8.59, which is fine. And the output there is bang on 5 volts. So we got a good stable power there. That's what we want to see. New version of the clean screen coming. It certainly is. I'm literally hand assembling chips on it right as we speak. I'll cover this up just for now, unless I've already shown it on screen, just because I'm trying to not allow people to clone this quicker than they already will. So we have the V4 here. You can see it's missing a connector I haven't soldered on yet, but I've just put these 2 chips on. And this is an awesome way. I designed this like 6 months ago. So this is literally 6 months ago I made this. And you'll see as soon as I release it in a few weeks how it's done. I was really impressed with how I did it. But I don't want to give away just yet until it's literally released, so that people don't clone this and, you know, try and take credit. And I want to get this on the market and people enjoy it first. I might well open source it because of how I've made it, but I probably won't open source my code. I'll probably open source like the firmware upgrades, and we can upload code via this port here. Anyone can plug it in a PC and upload code and stuff. But yeah, it's coming out in 3 to 4 weeks. And then very likely I'll just end up, I want to open source it to allow people to flash the code. One, because I haven't finished writing the code yet. I'm still writing the code. For like new features, scaling modes, saving screenshots, all kinds of useful features. Might even be able to record video if I can push it to the limits. But I'd like to be able to release this, send it out to customers, and they can always upgrade the firmware once I kind of finish writing it or write new code, so you guys can just update it yourself. So that's where I want to go. But the problem with doing that is, like everything I do, whenever I release things to the public open source or share my knowledge, people just clone our stuff and then, you know, sell it, and it harms our business. So it's one of them. I want to open source it fully, but we'll have to see what I decide. Right, so we've got the 5 volts there. So now on the Atari, you've got 3 chips here. And these are the MPU, so the microprocessor. This is the RAM, if you will, the Riot. So it's the RAM and the input-output, so control inputs and RAM. And this is the TIA. Now, I might have got them backwards. I'm pretty sure I haven't, because these chips have a tendency to move orientation, flip around on all different revisions. But typically you can tell the RAM's nearly always closest to the cartridge. The smaller one's always the MPU, and the one left is usually your TIA, it's called. Television Interface Adapter, I believe it's called. So this is the one we want to probe, and we want to see if we have signals coming out of it. So if we went to retro6.wiki, and I'll show you where you can get this info, because like I say, I open source pretty much everything I learn and do, so you guys can learn as well and follow along. Go to the wiki, go to Atari 2600, and you can see this is where I also explained everything about the video signal, how it all works, how I reconstructed it, using this clean comp. And unfortunately, because I shared all this information, this board's now been cloned in Australia as well. But, like I say, that's what you get. So what we're looking for is on the TIA chip here. This will be the chip we're after. You can see it's got the numbers written down what they normally are. Ours doesn't have any of those numbers, but obviously I'm pretty sure that one's the TIA. And we want to look for, typically I look for like C-Sync, Luma, colour, and that's all we need. So if we looked at pin 1, it would be up here. So pin 1 should be 5 volts. And if I probe on this, we are not turned, yeah, we are turned on. We're not getting 5 volts up there. So is this actually working? Yeah, that's working. Interesting. So we're not getting, according to the scope, we're not getting 5 volts up this top corner. Oh no, ignore me. It's VSS, not VCC. So it's ground, so that's fine. If we go to the second one, then this should be C-Sync. So if we then go over to, say, this view, you can see on screen here, we have data. Now this is, let's clear that out of the way a minute. This is why I don't like scopes other than Picoscope. Hey, welcome in. We're just doing a bit of oscilloscoping, funnily enough. Installing a clean comp on an Atari 2600 Junior. So this is pin 2. And you can see how hard this is to see. Now, we should be able to, I wonder if I can get that in a bit better light without seeing me big face. There we go. You can get this a bit better if you touch T for trigger, and then I think you just drag up, not on screen, in this empty bar, and there you go, you can move that trigger, the T. So if we lock it onto there, you can see it's now stabilized and locked on a trigger. Doesn't really show where it is across, I'd like to see a line, but that's the trigger point, and that's pretty stable now. So that's what you want to see. You want to see that nice kind of solid trigger. The one good thing about this I do like is touchscreen left and right zooms in and out of the signal. So you can see we're zooming out there, zooming in there. So that feature I like, and you can drag around. So it's got some nice useful features, and I'll probably get used to it. The only downside is if we go to, say, Luma, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, say 5 pins down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pins down. This is what I don't like about any other scope except the Picoscope. So see how the data's all kind of all over the show. If I paused it, you can see that's what you see, a nice solid thing happening. If I press play, it kind of fades. Every scope I've got fades, and this is meant to be a more advanced feature. This is what you look for in scopes. Some people do. Is this natural fade and overlay of images, but to me, that just looks like a mess now. That's just like a clutter of noise, and I can't visualize anything useful there. All I see is just too much on the screen. Whereas the Picoscope, you'll kind of see this image, and then you'll see a different image, and then a different image, and it's flashing fast, but it's easy to see on the eye, if that makes sense. Now, whether you can change that in the settings, I'm sure I've already looked on this and you can't. Like the brightness or the fade of that signal. I don't know whether you can. Configuration settings, save, read, power on. System calibration, we don't want that. USB connection, language, factory reset. So it's not in there. Function, so this waveform light, maybe this does it. See, it's all the way off and I can still see, you can easily see it on camera there, a double overlay. Maybe if we do the full, no. So it's still double overlaid. So that was perfect, that would have been ideal. Waveform light to 0, you'd think you'd see 0. Now, you probably are, but what's happening is I bet the screen refresh rate has just got, you've visually seen a fade in and out, basically. So anyway, that's the reason I like Picoscopes, because you can see them solid. But either way, I know this is running because we have C-Sync here, and if we tap to zoom out, we can add measurements, which will be measure. Actually, no, we want cursors on the X. So cursor from there to there. You can see we have a 16.9 kilohertz. Oh, wrong place. Move that. There, 15.6. So you're going to be the 15.5 kilohertz refresh. So that's refreshing on screen, showing that it's running a video signal. And the Luma is outputting. That's not a Luma, that's a clock. There you go. So that's the Luma. You got data. So we know we're good on there. One last check will be the col, which is pin 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And see how impossible that is to see on this scope. So this is, if you pause it, you can see something, but yeah, that's why I say this. Everything except a picoscope, very hard to see what you're looking at. But I know from experience, just because I know this, that is the colour, the chroma signal pulsing. So this is a fully working, luckily, fully working Junior. So now what we need to do is get this into the clean comp so we can actually see it on a monitor. So let's just put this oscilloscope away for now. We might need him later for tuning, but we shouldn't do. So I'll probably put him fully away for now. Because I don't really use him that much. And then what we can do now, unplug the game, unplug that, and we'll take this wire off, and then I'll show you how to do the clean comp install. So that's the ground wire off. What we're going to do with this as well is, if we go onto here, a bit zoomed in, we're going to remove this RF port here and pass the wire through this hole, so that obviously when it's in the shell, we don't have to cut the shell, and the customer's not going to use the RF port. So the first thing we'll do is, I guess, remove that RF port. That'll be the simplest thing. So I'll bring this in. And right then, many ways of removing this. Probably, oh, this pad's making me nose itch this morning. Either desolder wick, or I think we'll probably just hot air this off. It's such a thin board and small. Just going to get me hot air station. 330 Celsius, 40% airspeed, nice and slow. And I'm just going to warm this up. Wow, yeah, my nose is itching off. There must be some dust on this mat when I've cleaned it. I get that sometimes when I'm working. You won't get it sometimes, and other times I'll just get like a constant itchy nose from, I think it's because I clean the mat right before I come on live as well. And like all the dust is probably in the air. So we'll just warm this slowly, and then this entire port should come out without any kind of damage. Shouldn't have any issues on this board. I saw a thing as well on reviewing this Quick K8. I think it was actually a Quick K7, and they were actually showing the old one I had, the Quick 8.6 something or other. This was, I could probably show you after. It was like holding this just onto a piece of cloth to burn it, and this was burning like a nice flat pattern. And the other Quick that I've used for ages and always thought was really good was burning like dots. It wasn't as clean of an airflow. And I did mention when I got this, new Quick, the K8, how much hotter this seems to be, and how much better it seems to, remove things. So that might explain why. I think they have actually improved the airflow. That's nearly on now, or nearly off rather. And I don't think this is like got anything bent in there, because this you'd expect now to be pretty much coming off, to be honest. So that's why I'm just looking around, because I kind of expect this to be coming off. Now what I might do is flip the board over. We don't need this port anyway, and warm a bit from this side, because most of it's this metal cage that we're warming up. And obviously we can get easier access to the metal cage from this side. And I have got to be honest, I've got the air pretty slow and cold. Probably bump it back up to 370. 370, 80, I think is the normal. Sorry, 330 and 80% airspeed. So just faster airspeed is basically the norm. I'll probably just go running a bit too slow on airspeed. Change grip. There we go, starting to bubble nice and easy now. There you go, you can hear 2 of them are loose. Third one should be loose in a minute. There we go, so that's come off. That was quite a bit of time, and I think it was I was trying to use the hot air lower than I normally do, lower airspeed. And again, I'm still getting used to my new hot air station. This isn't the same. It isn't the same profile as the other Quick, so until I learn the best settings and profiles, I'm always just erring on the side of caution at the minute. In terms of the hot air, it's better be safe while you're learning the new equipment until you know you're happy with it. Well, that camera's miles out of focus as well. It's sitting there with it way out of focus. And I'm super zoomed in. You can tell I haven't streamed in a week and I'm overworked. Not paying any attention. Hey, welcome in. I need to fix that viewer count as well. It's slightly nudged over. Facebook's right on the... in fact, Facebook's cutting off on the vertical. And let me just fix that a minute. Right, I'm going to have to jump to the live overlay so you won't see for a second. Go to viewer count, is it? Unlock that. Bring him over a bit. Bring him over a bit. I could actually move just one on its own. And then I think I've got to do the TikTok viewers. That'll be in the way now. Considering TikTok's not even on at the minute. Kind of a bit irrelevant at this stage, but I can move that after. Yeah, that'll do. There we go. It's a bit better aligned. So, RF port off. We can then unplug this cable. So this is just a baby RF cable. That's all that is. So that can come off. We've now got a place to pass our composite cable through. I do kind of want to maybe make an upgrade to this mod as well, so that we can put like maybe a Sega Saturn DIN in there. So you can use one of our off-the-shelf removable cables instead of having a flying lead coming out the system. But the original 2600s just had a flying RF lead out the system, so it's kind of expected in one way. People are used to that with the 2600, but I think it'd be better to replace the RF with an actual port at some point. Hey, welcome in. We've just done a little bit of oscilloscoping at the start, if you wanted to watch that back later, just going through a different oscilloscope. And now we are going to install our clean comp. Oh, this is another one of them super shiny boards that I have to angle just right to not get the reflection. We want to install the clean comp here on this TIA. Now, we need to make sure this goes on the right way. So the test for this, if I can get my multimeter into the right mode, is finding ground. So we know this big plate over here is ground like this. So if we hold the multimeter on, say, here, and probe, there's only going to be, because this goes on the underside of the board, so if we flipped over, it always goes inside the TIA, and then see these pins here, ground, sync, all this lot, it'll either go onto this pin, so bottom right, like so, and that means this pin has to be ground, or it flips around, goes onto this pin up here, and that has to be ground. So all Ataris are different, and I've even had Ataris of the same shape and everything else, where you're not sure which ground is. Now, you could always look at the notches as well and dots, but I always just recommend get your multimeter, find a ground, and find out which pin is ground. So you've got this one as ground here, that one isn't, and that one isn't. Now, when you're testing for ground, voltage, obviously it won't do it now, but you heard the initial beep at first when you pushed on, where it kind of beeped and stopped. That was this big cap charging up. So if I discharge that cap, And now if I probe on what is the wrong pin down here, it's not going to do to that one. Let's try this one. See that little beep there, the beep and stop? That's a cap charging up and discharging. So when you hear continuity, don't just believe it. Leave your probe on and make sure it stays beeping. So we know for a shadow of, we know without a shadow of a doubt, this is the ground. So if we flip over, and remember it's here, you flip over and that means the ground is here. Now the giveaway is this big trace, but again, don't rely on that. Always just test with your multimeter. So on this specific revision of Atari, I'm going to see if I can improve that depth as well, how much focus depth we have. We want this board to be flipped around and soldered so that the ground here goes over the ground of that, which is, where are we? This pin here. So like there. We want it to go over them pins. So probably zoom in a bit for you. Actually zoom in on this. Yes, I can. I thought we were quite zoomed out. There we go. Let's see what we're doing. So yeah, it goes over this ground pin here, and then all the rest align, and 5 volts over here. So that's where it wants to rest. Doesn't always sit totally flush, so you can feel this is like a little bit not sitting flush. Don't worry about that. It'll still attach to these pins when we solder, no problem. And now all we do is run solder down these pins. Get the extractor on. Get the solder on. And it just go down. And because, bear in mind, these pins are underneath, put the iron on, flow some solder in, and typically just wait a few seconds to let the solder flow through. You can see that's just about got some. Just going to make sure it's still flat at this end and solder the opposite end first. And the same on this, I'm going to leave it on for a few seconds, let go, and just make sure it's gone under. You don't need to solder all the others. So see how there's a white line around here and around these two and around these. They're the only ones you need to solder. So you don't need to solder the others. We're just going to leave them open. I've got a little splinter in that finger as well. Right, so on there, feed the solder in, wait a few seconds, and you know that's flown through to the other side. And that's how easy this install is. So this was the method I've designed and invented to sit inside the TIA for a super clean install. And I think now on the next revision, well, I mean, I've definitely got let me just use the can I use the scope to see? I've got a metal splinter in my finger. Yes, there it is. Let me just pull this out a minute. There we go. That was crazy painful for a tiny little piece of metal. What was it? Yeah, so I think we can improve this now for the next revision. Not so much on the video output, that's pretty much as good as it gets. But on the cable connection, so we don't have floating cables. I kind of want to make it so we have a DIN connector, like a Sega Saturn connector on the AV port, instead of having flying leads. And now this has been out for years, and it's a nice stable release, and there's no real improvements to do as such. Everything seems to be really good on the video side. I think it's time to improve the install side. There we go. So I think, there we go. I think that's all nice and on solid. Yep, so let's now get that on there, clean. Oh, it says clean, that's not clean at all. There we go. That's it, that's the install done. So all we need to do now is solder the wires here. So what we have, this is where I don't think it's overly obvious, just so I couldn't really fit the writing in anywhere. But COM is here, component. But the text, when you're looking at it, say midway, and you see this, you might think it's Y or C, you're not sure which. It's obviously, if you look down further, you can tell, but the writing's underneath the pad. So this is component video. This is ground, ground, ground. This is the loomer for S-Video, which is a lot more common in America. So I'm just reading the comment. Is that a solder bridge on the unused audio pin? Can't see anything. But with you saying that, I know one thing we need to do, which I forgot, is we do need to bridge these based on which console it is. Bridge these 3 of its NTSC, these 3 of its PAL. No, can't see any short anywhere. Ooh, way too far. Yeah, let me know if you think you see a short, but I can't see one there. Bear in mind, you're seeing through the board as well. This is a clear design, so the dark copper is the top, then it goes through the board, and then this one is running underneath the board. But yeah, if you've got a PAL, which this one is, we need to bridge these PAL points. If you've got an NTSC, which is American, you need to bridge the others. Otherwise, you won't get anything out. So to bridge these, just pretty much, we'll go from this side, say, add some solder. And this is apparently really difficult for some guy that is in Australia, the place that has just cloned this board, and said those pads are really difficult to do and you rip traces and I need to learn how to solder, basically. So I think the guy was just rage quitting because he failed to install this and tried to blame the board being low quality. But as you can see, if you know what you're doing, that is ridiculously simple. So if you struggle, use a resistor or a bit of wire, I guess. But if you can't bridge them pads, then just check your soldering, check your iron temperature, whether you need flux, whether you need better solder. But yeah, just bridge them 3 pads for PAL, bridge them for NTSC. And now over here, we have the component video here, 3 grounds, so you can tack 3 grounds off your flying leads from. Loomer for S-Video, Chroma for S-Video, and then the left and right audio on all Ataris by default are mono anyway. So these are just really 2 pads that go all the way back, and when you bridge these, they just short together. On the NTSC, you can do a more advanced mod to cut traces, remove components, and make it stereo. So this is suited for that. If you did that mod on the actual console, these would then become actual stereo. But generally, these are just the same video pin out. So now all we need to do on this is grab a cable and where have I put it? Oh, up here. We'll see if this works. So nice, easy install. I've just got a... oh, can I use this? I've cut it. Yeah, I can. As I've started to cut one end, I've used this for an Xbox yesterday. I was diagnosing. This is just called a 6 RCA cable. This is 2 ends with just obviously composite. Jeez, I'm getting confused here. Yeah, composite. So I've been working on Xbox yesterday for hours and it's component, and I was like, is it component or composite? This is composite video. This is left and right audio, and then it's the same on both sides. So you can take one end. These kits come with pre-stripped wires, by the way. They don't come like this. They come with, I just haven't got one on me. They come with these ends already cut off, and all of these wires already exposed. So let me show you how they basically come, if I hadn't just completely destroyed that by stripping too much of it. So they come like this with all the ends fully exposed as well. And you've got, see how you've got three black wires? That's the grounds for all of them. So that's why we've got 3 ground pads on the actual board, but you can just solder them together. I normally solder all 3 grounds together. If not, you can just attach them to the 3 pads on the board. That Game Boy is ready to go, by the way, that red Game Boy. It's got the clean juice in, and what's the? Those are open. They're just deliveries. Stock deliveries are there. I've robbed the back off that, but they're stock. That's the goods in, but absolutely annihilated screen inside. and no, doesn't say who it is. So it's like there's a reference there. Master, you can have a look, see if you can find it. So these wires come basically like this when you buy the kit. So you won't have to do all the stripping. They'll even be tinned at the end as well. So if we just tin these ends. Like that. And then what I tend to do on these is cut them nice and short as well. So how they are sort of longer, I'll tend to just cut them like nice little stumps for me, because I'm going to solder them straight onto the board. So I don't need these big long wires. And you can see I've just tacked all the grounds together. But that's all as I'll do. But like I said, they come pre-stripped anyway. And then grab the board, pull focus, and let's solder them on. So this has got composite. This customer isn't having the S-video, so this lead, the ones you buy with the kit come with S-video as well. So this one's just composite only. But you could obviously just solder the Y and the C. If you've got the S-video as well. So we just need ground, composite, left and right audio. So we'll start with the ground wire. We've combined them all instead of using all 3 pads. I'll come in on the pad there, like so. And then we'll tack on the composite. And you can see that's why I make the wire short. Red and white, if you remember red right, and then left white, it's kind of rhymes. But as I say, these are mono audio anyway, unless you do another mod, so don't worry about that being, you know, which way around, because they're actually mono by default anyway. Now it needs a tiny touch of flux. There we go. And now we should have working composite. We can tune the composite chroma with this. Turning this dial makes the colours brighter or less bright. And one other thing you need to do on all Ataris, which some people don't know, is you can tune the chroma colour, which is how the colour displays on screen. And it's done via this, and they're all in different positions. This dial here, this potentiometer, which has got a big sticky leaf on it. So when we tune this, you don't tune it yet, but if you don't see anything on screen, if this is out of tune, you might not see anything at all on screen. If it is tuned, you'll see something, but potentially not the right colour. So I'm going to pass this through a retro scaler, and again with composite, every receiver is different. So you might find some show the composite really good, others show it noisy, but you also got to bear in mind composite isn't that good anyway. Composite's a pretty poor video signal, and the Atari is also, to top it off, also a pretty bad. This thing on. There we go. Yeah, composite's a pretty bad visual anyway on the Atari. But let's see what we get out of this. We'll go onto here, game in. And again, we're going to get awful video noise with this adapter, I'm pretty sure. We need to find or buy a better one. Let's see what we get. Let's turn this on, and presumably nothing. Let's just see if we get anything on the CRT. Yeah, so it's on the CRT, it's just this capture card isn't showing, so we've just got to probably restart the capture card. But if you look on CRT, I'll just turn the capture card off, and I don't really need the capture card anyway. It was just a thing, but there's the CRT. So you can see it's pretty good. Well, it is good, obviously, because that's how we've made it, but it's a shame I can't get it to focus. See, when I blur it, and then it goes nice and sharp how I see it, but if you don't, there's that lovely CRT static. When I zoom out and it goes nice and clear, that's what my eyes see. There we go. So it's kind of focused there now where I want it to. But you can see that's nice and clear. So that's it. It's done. Basically, I'm working. And that's as good as you'll get for composite. You can see a little bit of rolling noise through the screen. So see that static there, and then here, if I follow the finger, see that little bit of noise rolling up. That's mains hum, and that's nothing to do with the mod. That's the power supply we're using. But yeah, that's the mod all done. So we better check with audio as well. Do I play the Atari? I do, yeah. Not much though. It's pretty much. I've got loads of the games for it. Oh, wrong port. Off and on. Mainly Pitfall when I've been testing. There we go. I've got tons of the games, but wow, that does not like staying focused. I've got to put something there for make it focus. I've got to put my hand here while I'm playing. No, that's dripping out. That is for focus. Wow. Yeah, it doesn't like focusing on a CRT. Maybe I can get it up on this scaler, but like I say, bear in mind the scaler is not as good as the CRT. It's just try and get it up though. Maybe just turn it on and off. Oh, actually, helps if you plug the HDMI cable in. Then it might work. There we go. Yeah, so you can see how dark that looks. I have to adjust the capture. The thing is, the cheap retro scaler is great for capturing composite because it's so varied, but it doesn't come through correct on the colours. You have to adjust. You have to adjust all the settings based on the console. So let me just move this to somewhere like what it would actually look like. There you go, that's about what I'm seeing, well, what we're seeing on the CRT. So there we go, that's a bit better now. But yeah, see the, can you see the, yeah, the noise isn't that bad actually, to be honest. But if you see a rolling, slow rolling on the screen, that's not the mod. Oh, now we've got audio on both, which we didn't have before. Let me turn the CRT off. Yeah, so in terms of the 2600, I do play it, but not that often. Usually I'll play it once I make a build. And it's normally Pitfall. But like I say, I've got literally hundreds of games for it. But I've not really found one, to be honest, bar Pitfall and Adventure. I'd say they're the two good ones. I haven't found that many, with it being such a simple... sorry, we go backwards. A simple architecture. They don't hold your interest as much as like slightly newer systems. Whoops. That's the input lag on this HDMI. Yes, there we go. But yeah, that's all working. So that's that one done. The retro scaler also, well, the HDMI capture card does that flickering when you turn it off. It's not the actual system. So that's that one done. Yeah, no, the originals are stiff. You can actually get some. We used to sell them until I think we've only just ended them. You can get remade versions of these that are really good quality, and these sticks are better, and this is a bit clickier. But the originals, yeah, the originals are very stiff to move. That's just how they were, I believe. But yeah, in the rare instance, the Chinese-made new sticks are actually really good quality. Obviously, where we buy them from, I presume there's only one on the market that's like that. And obviously, like I say, we don't really sell it now. We kind of cut back on all the accessories to just sell our consoles pre-built with them. Right, so that's that one. Right, what's next? Mega Drive, probably. This on here a second. Right, just give me 5 minutes to prep and get the next one ready, and then we'll just carry on. I'll do, I think, a Mega Drive one probably. It's the 6507's the MPU microprocessor. The TIA's the television interface adapter, and the other one's the Riot chip, which is the RAM and the input and output processor. Yeah, so like, give me 5 minutes. We'll jump on. I think a Mega Drive. Just got to figure out what's next. So I'll just mute and shut the face cam off a second while I get prepped and leave it running. Yeah, for them controllers, the Atari, I can grab a few. Customer sent me these. I can grab a few and sell them. I think they were like 15 quid. If you don't mind waiting, what you can do is go to retro6.co.uk, send in services, scroll to the bottom, bespoke order, and just enter 15 quid for one, 30 quid for two. Leave a note in there, say 2600 joysticks, and I can order them in if I haven't got them and send them. You just might have to wait a week or two, but I can do it that way. Right, next up I've got to do 2 Mega Drive ones. I was actually in the middle of doing this one. Can't even remember where I got up to. I think it was on a sub-only stream we started doing this, maybe. And I needed to wire it up, so this is like a half-done job. I've got to try and remember what we're doing. We need to... yeah, let's take this off so we can see. And this will be, again, a clean... this is a clean RGB this time, not a clean composite. So what we have here, we've got the red, green, blue and sync wires all connected. I didn't connect the outputs, so let's get them done now. I think it's the first time ever we've apparently got more people on Twitch than YouTube as well. But to be honest, the streams are dead at the minute. With I presume it's with not streaming for like a week or so on the public one. We're getting like hundreds on TikTok, which obviously didn't work this morning. Like 9 on Twitch and 40 to 70 on YouTube, and that's just like disappeared. Nice. Unless it's limited to... no, I don't think I was going to say. I'm wondering whether it's limited to sub-onlys by mistake when it's not meant to be on this one. But no, I think it's on public at the minute. That's all the wires we should need. So now let's wire these in. So we have the CXA chip here, which, if I remember rightly, top of my head, where's my tweezers? We have maybe ground, I think this one. You've got red, green and blue in. You've got, I think, 5 volts down here. And then I think one of these two is sync in, but we can check on the wiki. Then on the output side, we've got red, green and blue out. But for the sync, it's usually different. So we'll pull the schematic up and double check what we're going to do with this. this is a VA4, which of course has a terrible looking schematic. So we want to look for the AV port, which I think is here. So yeah, this is the AV port here that's just a rectangle. This is the CXA chip here, CXA1145. We have, obviously, the CXA1145 I can get up on the wiki for pinouts, but obviously the pins are here, so red, green and blue in. We'll tap into, I think, just the input to start with. Straight on the chip, that's fine. The output though, red, green and blue out, oh, they actually go straight to the pins, which is perfect. So we can just go straight to that chip everywhere, the ins and the outs. There's no capacitors, there's nothing in line. C-Sync though goes to the input and straight to the board, so we're going to have to override C-Sync. So we're going to have to cut the trace on C-Sync. So we'll deal with C-Sync last. Well, this is fairly simple. Now we can just solder wires straight to here. So the red, green and blue inputs I know for sure. It's just one pin down. And then these are red, green, and blue. And then for the outputs, we don't want this chip now controlling the output, so we need to either cut them 3 pins or cut the traces, or lift the chip out and bend the legs. We can do any of those techniques. So we have, can't even see where the traces are going. The traces will come then. There's nothing underneath, so the traces must come up, and it's got to be these here. So I'll probably just cut them traces. I get the multimeter on. Right, so the red here, red output. So it's this trace here. So we need to cut this trace for red. Green will be there, and then that's going to be blue. So we can cut through these 3 traces and then solder our wires to the outputs of the traces. I think that's what we'll do. Yep, they look cut through now. Yep, straight through. And then what we want to do now is I can tack to these 2 pads here, but for this one going all the way over there, I'm just going to expose a trace here slightly. So, oh, and this is it's not really tight, so the grinder's coming out. Right. I'll just expose a bit of that trace, like that, and then we'll just tack our wire to that instead. one here, one here. Just want to tack onto that one. I'll have to just expose that a bit. That one too. And then that trace is the one we'll attach the wire to on the red, which is, yeah, just about got enough for me to tack onto there. Right, so let's start with what I'm going to do is go down to here. We want the outputs, these bottom ones. So I'm going to grab this red, green and blue and tack them on to these ones we've just done up here. So we'll start with the red. And now we want to get it onto this pad down here. So we've got a cleaner. It's about the length we want. And all we've got to do is line it up with that trace. You probably should have a bit of flux on for this. And just tack onto the trace, and there you go, rock solid. So that's the red. And then we'll do green next. And I think I'm doing these in the right order. Probably should double check, I can't remember. Oh yeah, I've cut the traces. Yeah. So red was that, then green, yeah, so it's the right order. Red, green and blue. The green, and then you can, if you don't want to see them visually touching that close, even though they're insulated, you can kind of run them down a bit like that if you wanted. And then the last one for that is blue. There we go. Yeah, you can get the coloured coating. The actual Mega Drive 2 RGB kit I've made, so this is a Mega Drive 1. Obviously, you wouldn't have to do this complicated install. This is like the universal one that fits everything. I'm starting to make actual dedicated mods like this one. So the next one up I want to make is this Mega Drive 1. So that's part of why, literally one of the reasons why I'm installing this on this board, is to find out all the values, and then we can make this integrated mod like this. So this is the exact same technology, if you will, the same design for the Mega Drive 2. Everything's pre-configured. So now this replaces this on the Mega Drive 2. You don't need to tune all these dials, and it's just obviously a lot more compact. And then the kit comes with coloured wires. So we have the red, green and blue. And I wanted to get like orange for power and another one for ground, like black, but they couldn't get, even though I've got black for something else, they couldn't get black in this style. So the sinks and the power and ground are the same, but at least the red, green and blue are actually coloured, which makes it a lot easier. And they're pre-stripped and length to exactly the size, because that's what takes the time. So you don't have to strip the wires, they're already the exact size you need, basically. So yeah, I'll be making this for the Mega Drive 1 in the next few weeks, and you won't have to do this level of, like, this is a lot longer winded, basically, to install. This is like where all the time is hand soldering all these things in, basically. Let me just bring up the wiki for the pinouts as well. I always forget which way ground is on this chip. So ground's at the top. So this one's ground up here. So I'll put ground and 5 volts on next, which is on the in. So 5 volts is down here, ground is up here. So first pin is ground. That one. There we go. And then the next one will be 5 volts. Wow, that's not a... I keep forgetting this camera doesn't auto expose. It's quite dark. And now we have red, green and blue out, which go to these inputs. So these can go straight across and in. There we go. We just put a little bit of resin to hold all these in place now. Now we've got quite a lot of wires. Mix. This we have the sink to still come along, so I'm going to bring the sink down, bring him up. Put a bit on there. Yeah. Same up here now. Right, so we have the wires there. Now we've got to tidy them up, which we'll probably solder these in first now because they're close, and then we'll tidy them up like that and then clean up after. Right, so let's just make sure we've got the right ones, which we'll test with a multimeter. So this one is definitely sync. And these three, we've got four, so one's sync in, one's RGB. So these are going to be RGB. And to be honest, I could tack them in place and then cut them after, because they're all roughly the same size, so we'll do that. Otherwise the moving wires are going to drive me nuts. Yeah, ceramic. Yeah, I think I've had the ceramic tipped tweezers. They were just a bit chunky, is all I found. I've got them in somewhere in one of my drawers. I've definitely got some, but I never ended up using them as such. Yeah, there we go. That's about as clean as we need to make it for a wiring in job at the minute. Let's now let's find out which one was red, green, and blue. So let's cut them to size because they'll all fit. So these will go to there. Strip them down and then multimeter probe them. So dark in this room today, I can barely see what I'm doing. I think I normally just zoom in on this more when I'm working and look at the actual stream to see. Right, so we have that one exposure. You can see even on the stream it's dark. I think it's quite dull outside, I think, is why. Right, there's the 3 strips. Let's now test them with multimeter. Find out which one's which. Red is first one. Look at that, in order. Didn't even plan that. So red, green, and blue already in the order we want them. So red will go into this one. I've never really read anyone's opinions on the tweezers, to be honest. I just saw them when I was browsing to shop on AliExpress, as I do, just buying random stuff. Tried them quite a while ago, but yeah, they're in. Well, I might have even chucked them now. I just found that I never really used them for anything. These tweezers I use now are pretty universal. They kind of work well for almost every job. There we go. Alright, so we have red, green, and blue. This is the inputs. We have the 5-volt or ground, I can't remember which. 5-volt up there, ground there, red, green, and blue in, red, green, and blue out. And now we're dealing with this one, which is, I think, the C-sync here, and the C-sync out. That's the cut bit. So, yeah, we've got 2. That one is coming from over there, this one's coming from down there. So this one is the output, and the other one's the input. And what we have to do on this is, I don't know yet. We'll figure it out in a second. I'll take another look at that schematic in a minute and figure out what we do. Right then, schematic time. Hey, welcome in on YouTube. It's like we get more comments on YouTube than we've actually got viewers, apparently. Is it just literally dead at the minute on YouTube? Have I literally got the 3 people, or is there more than 3 people in there at the minute? Because we've got quite a few subs kicking in, but no one's watching, apparently, according to the views. What was I doing now? Oh yeah, schematic. Let's take a look at what the hell we're going to do. So what we need to do now is bypass the sync. Now this chip, the CXA1145, still needs sync in, otherwise it can't generate composite out. So we can't cut sync going into the chip. But we need to cut it on the port, I think, is the simplest answer. Or follow the trace to the port. So that's actually not that complicated. What we'll probably do is actually bring that back up a second. I haven't finished showing you. We will go to Mega Drive, Sega Mega Drive, AV port, and I should have hopefully the pin out on the bottom. So this is the bottom of the board, and we have C-Sync here. So we are going to want to, yeah, 1.5 grand extractor fan, and I've just taped a switch to it so I can turn it on and off easy. We want to look at the bottom of that port, follow the trace back, and ideally do a connection on the top side where all the other wires are. So if we go to overview, pull focus a bit, and here's the port. So based on that overlay, which I have hidden, you've got composite here and C-Sync here. So we want to follow this trace. This is the C-Sync, comes to a via here. So when I'm flipping the board around, what I try to do is look at things that are going to be on the other side of the board and try and remember. Yeah, 23 watching and the views say like 80. I think it's a bit off the viewer. I don't know whether, like, I like to see the viewers just so I have an idea of how many people I'm actually streaming to, in case I'm talking to myself all the time. But it's also never really accurate. So it's like one of them, hit and miss. Especially when it looks like there's 5 people on and there's like, at the end of the stream, it'll probably say there's like 40 odd. So when I come to here, I'll look at maybe seeing if I can see 2 dots and another dot, or this is clearly a big chip. So it's going to be right by the big chip, and there should be a dot, a dot, a dot. So what I try to do is visualize what I'm going to look for when I flip the board over, and just bear in mind it's going to mirror itself. So I'm just going to look for the big chip here with a dot at the top right, it will be, and then a diagonal dot by it, and that diagonal dot's the one we want. So if we flip that board over now, this is the big chip we were looking at. The big dot will be that cap leg there, and the diagonal is here. So this is C-Sync. So that's perfect for us, because what we can do is cut the trace here, solder the input there, the output there. Or you could even go the input to the chip, which if we went to back here, maybe back again, you got sync in as the 3rd pin up on the input side. So sync in is this 3rd pin here. So basically we can either solder one wire to there and the other to the cut side, or I'll just put a cut here and solder either side. And that'll be the sync wires. And then we should be done. Just have to tune it and see what we're dealing with. So let's cut that trace. And I'm going to cut it near the dot because I want some length to actually solder the wire to after. Yeah, it's gone through, and then I'm going to expose that trace. Like so. And now we can solder. Oh, actually, I'll probably expose that via as well, because the last via didn't really tin up very well. So that should give us all we need. Now we need the sync in, which was this one. So he can come around here and tuck into there. tiny blob of flux down there. That doesn't seem to be taking the solder, so there we go, it does now. Same the other side. I thought we weren't going to get a tin then. You can't really see in this reflection either. It's kind of a... Tell you what, let's, just because we can, let's plug in the microscope so you guys can see a bit better. Hide, show. Or not. Come on, microscope. There we go. Oop, what if I click there? There we go. Right, so bring this into view. Oh yeah, I haven't really exposed that trace well at all. When you look under a microscope, I might want to... Yeah, that needs exposing a bit more. Ah, you subbed. Yeah, thanks for the sub. I noticed a few popping up. Is there a mod to give Model 2s the ability to play Master System? It's a good question, actually. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe flash carts with built-in emulators running on top of the Mega Drive, maybe. But I've never really thought about that one. There we go, nice and easy. So that's that one. Zoom out a bit. And then we just need to now bring in this other one, which can come up around, and we'll go at it from here, like that. And you can see all the task here is pretty much stripping the wires and soldering. That's why I want to make the drop-in mod, because this task takes ages, and if it was a drop-in it'd take like 5 minutes. There we go. And now there's that area, so give this board a whole proper clean at some point. What we have, if we've done it all right now, we have the clean comp, the clean RGB down here. We've got ground and 5 volts wired to the tops there. We've got the RGB inputs here. We've got the sync cut and soldered there. So we've done everything right. We've still got to tune it, but we may see something on screen. So let's give it a go. On these consoles, so it all depends. Most of them, it's us fixing customers' consoles. So if they send them in for repair, we fix them. And you can book them in on retro6.co.uk and then send-ins. These, at the minute, what we're working through, this one isn't a customer, so I'll be doing exactly the same for a pre-built console after this. But this is actually, this is a known version of VA4. So you can see down here, VA4. People on our Discord, where we've got everyone that can chat about, retro consoles and stuff. This is apparently one of the worst RGB outputs going. So when we get this up, we're going to probably see like a lot of noise on the screen, like horizontal or vertical lines. So I'm actually doing this one partially because I want to make drop-in mod for the clean RGB, and partially because I want to check out the noise on this system and fix it. And then I'll be making a customer's, but we basically get a mix of people buying them ready-made or people sending them in for repair, and it's all done through word of mouth. It's people just know us from word of mouth pretty much, that's spread over the years, and then you just go on retro6.co.uk to book them in. That's where all the work comes from. So now let's try and power this up, and this is a Japanese version, so we will need a flash cart because I don't have a Japanese game floating around, I don't think. So we've got the flash cart here, controller, and then what should be now RGB output. So for this, we have our very own cables. So we make these. These are literally made by us. So we've got a tag on it. It tells you what console it's for. It's a pure RGB cable, which means it's straight through. If you ball out the ends, they just go straight through with nothing but what they should have inside, which is straight through copper, basically. All double shielded. So if you're going to do any kind of clean RGB mod, make sure you buy our SCART cables as well. Hey, welcome in. Yeah, pretty late. Yeah, we finished all the work now. We're just about to, well, I'll say we're about to test if this works for the clean RGB. Hopefully it does. So this can go into OSSC, so you guys can see. And then if we pull this up over screen now, we probably won't get anything. That's the wrong screen. We won't get anything yet because, well, we might do, but we've got to tune this. So the likelihood is we're not going to see anything to start with. We've got to actually tune these wheels on the Clean RGB Universal. But you never know. Sometimes the default positions work, and we might have even screwed something up. We don't know yet. So turn on. Absolutely nothing. Oh, press the button maybe. Yeah, so still nothing there. Oh, or is it trying to lock on? What have I got? Oh, I think I'm pulling the power cable out there. Right. So that's on. Let me just try blindly spinning the sync cable for now. Sync cable, the sync DC offset. Because we should really be getting a sync. You'd expect. So I've got a feeling we've maybe got something wired in wrong here, because you'd normally at least expect to see the sync. We also don't want to keep it on too long because that's not got the heat sink on. Yeah, so let's be quick on this a minute. All right, so we've got the 5 volts. So let's put the heatsink back on and get the scope out and then tune this in. But I've got a feeling we may have wired something wrong, maybe, because it might not be, but you'd normally see something with blind tuning the sync. Sega Genesis 1601. Yeah, there's if you go to retro6.wiki and then go to power supply details, this page here, you can see you can go through This is all my own notes of me actually working on systems and making the notes. So we've got... I've even put the Genesis in over, just called it Mega Drive. Yeah, so never worked on the Genesis. Well, I have worked on the Genesis, but never noted the power supplies. But what I was going to say is that obviously on all the others, like the Mega Drives, you can see I give you the exact sizes, the polarity of the pins, and then you can search this for matching plugs. And a very common one is Game Gears are usually the same. So the American Game Gears are actually positive inner, whereas everywhere else is positive outer. The Mega Drives are positive outer for us, and maybe the Genesis is then positive inner. So you probably find the Game Gear matches, like a Game Gear power supply probably matches the Genesis, but just double check. And if not, we actually sell a clean power for it, so you can just upgrade it to USB-C if you want. If you just went to retro6.co.uk, mods and ports, and then Mega Drive, obviously same thing as Genesis, and in there you'd find clean power, and that gives you a USB-C on the output instead. Right, so we've got the heat sinks on. Let's get the scope on now. I need to see what's going on, because I've got a slight suspicion something's not quite right. We've got a ground already. Running out of desk space here. You go over there, out my way. Right then, do a PC. We need to pull the scope up, get this up. Drag that over. Right then, so now let's see what we're actually looking at. What I would have, all of my, I need to try and find a better place for this hot air station, really. Gets a little bit in the way now. Right, that's a bit better. Turn on, and right, we got red, got green, got blue. No sync, yeah, I thought as much. Have we got the syncs mixed up? Yeah, I think we've got sync in and out, maybe backwards. I didn't think we did, but looking at that, yeah, that is sync. It's noisy as hell, but that's sync. I think we've got sync backwards, is my guess. Yeah, we must do. Continuity. Gonna have to take these heat sinks back off now. We're gonna need that scope. Oh crap! Just as I said, we need that scope. My mouse has clicked something and closed it. No, for God's sake! Closing everything with this mouse. Not enough room on the desk. What the hell? Where's my mouse? Right, so I need to open up the scope again, but we're gonna have to get this off for the minute. And let's just probe if I was right, and if we've got continuity of these backwards. Probably should have checked that, but I was... Yeah, got sync in and out backwards. So we'll change them at this end. Wow, this is definitely a... This is an overloaded desk at the minute with wires and cables. Let's swap around. So all it was is these two. I just looked, they were glued down, but didn't really look where they were going. These two pins here need swapping around. So luckily they're long enough to swap around. Probably get it in a position I can actually do my job. Right, so he's going to go on that, and he's going to go up to there. Sink in. And there we go. You guys can't even see that because the camera isn't even in the right spot. But all I've done is swap them wires around. Yeah, right then. So now, question is, do we get something on screen? So flip this around, connect everything back up. Put the heat sinks back on. Just give me 2 seconds. So just bear with me, guys, as I'm just looking at a sign if you wonder where I've gone. No, nothing at all. No, just flip them 2 switches. Yeah. Right, you. Nose itch. Yeah. I disappeared for 2 minutes and Rusty was at the bottom. Oh, Mega Drive. Got a QC it. Oh, you're after your food. Yes. This is what you've come for, isn't it? Yes. These are the treats everyone buys you. Yeah. Shall we see if it works? Let's go on. What were we doing? Just want that on there. Let's go on. Press a button. There we go. So obviously the dials are way off. Yes, it's working. Want to treat for it working? Go on then. Yeah. Pug ASMR. Let's get this and tune the dial. So to change these colours, if we've got them all right, you can just tune these divides and DC offsets to change the colour. So you can see that's moving the colours. And obviously we've got to dial these in perfect, which we can see, I think they're meant to be yellow, if I remember rightly. But obviously we've got to set all these up correctly with a scope. So I'll do that next. Won't be able to do it with a pug in my hand, like, but that's what we'll do. But it's clearly working. But you can see that, see the vertical lines? All them vertical lines, not you, all them vertical lines going up and down. They are the noise on this VA4 that people have mentioned. The VA4 has got some noise on. So I'll probably do a separate stream on that, maybe for the subs only, to go through fixing that side of it. But we'll tune the colours in just now, make sure the colours are the right way around and we can get it working. And let's just go on. Don't know. See if Test Games has got Sonic on, just to get a general idea. Oh, Streets of Rage. Or Super Street Fighter even, let's try that. Oh, I should have just pressed start, this takes ages. There's no more, I'm covered in dog hairs now. One more and then you go. Right. You're going to come running back in now, aren't you? Out you go. I'll shut that door so Puggo hopefully doesn't come back in. Yeah, so there's the colours. That's clearly meant to be green and things. So we might have one of these wires on wrong, but either way, oh, hang on, is that about right then? Yeah, so we're somewhere about there, but what obviously miles off colour. What we'll do instead of using that is use the actual oscilloscope to now tune these colours in. So if we go to the scope, presuming there's white on screen, we can normally get close enough even if there isn't. We want to, that text I'm presuming is going to have, or that screen at some point, that screen's probably going to have the white colouring that we want. We need to tune initially the DC offset. So the first thing we need to do is remove the DC offset. You can see how noisy that is. So if we first go on the scope, go to 20 megs, and to be honest, I'm even going to go to the 4 meg filter. Let's give us as clean as we can get. You can see it's still pretty noisy, but it should be clean enough for us to use. What we want on here, we want the DC offset to be gone. So here's the ground point. At the minute we're up here. So what we do to remove that is turn, I show you on here. We are turning these dials on the universal, and this is so that you can be tuned for any console, basically, is the idea. So you've got the DC offset here. So if we probe on that, and we can turn this DC offset wheel now, and watch happens on the scope when we turn it. So you can move it up and down. We want to move it all the way down to just about remove all of that offset like that. And then we need to do the same for the others. But if you look at that position now, that's roughly where they should all be. They should pretty much all be the same setting. There's no real reason they'd be any different. So if we turn this one again, and turn it till it's just gone, you can see they end up in almost identical positions. If we do the same on the blue, There's that. And if we take a look at what we're seeing on screen now, so if we overlay this on stream, you can see we've still got the colours off, so I think we've got something wrong on the colours as well. But we'll carry on tuning first to make sure everything's right on the scope, but something's not quite right there. So now we've got the DC offset done. We'll go right to the end here, go to the final output, and this should be 0.2 volts off the bottom because that DC offset's 0. So if I can get the mouse to go over, this should be 0.2, which it is perfectly. And then the gap wants to be 1.4, so this wants to be hitting 1.6. So around here is where we want the maximum voltage to be. So the tip up here, see how it's going above the line? We need to tune the red down on the divide here until that comes just at the top. And this is presuming what's on screen has white on. That's then the top. Do the same for the green. Bring it down until the brightest colours there. And then the blue on here, same again. And this should then be perfectly tuned. And what we see on the video now should be perfect, and I'm guessing it's still going to be the wrong colour, which then is a sign we've got something wired backwards or something missing, because that now should be the perfect colour, and it's obviously way off at the minute. So let's just see out of curiosity. Actually, it might not be, because maybe that's meant to be purple on this, I don't know. Let's try Street Fighter again. Actually, if we go back and press start, it should just load instantly. I think we've got the colours mixed up as well. Yeah, so I think we've got the perfect colour now, but we've got the red, green and blue mixed up on some part of it, input or output. Because that's obviously correct. So what we can do is I can load up on this SD card a test suite that allows us to output the colours, and we'll see what we've done wrong. Like now, it's the easiest way of doing it, just loading up a test suite that can output some colours for us, and we'll see. Again, we've probably got a red, green and blue working upside down. We've probably done literally the exact opposite, so red and blue are probably mixed up as me guess. Let me get... Mega Drive, Genesis, 240p test suite. Right, that's on, if that's the file I need. Load this in. Turn back on. And now we should be able just to load this test suite up. And let's see, my guess is we've got red and blue backwards on the output, not necessarily the input. Could have it either way. So green and blue are backwards, so you can see they're blue and green. So simple solution would be swapping the inputs on this board. So I can probably do this. Like I say, I shouldn't really do it with the power on, but actually that's not going to be doable that side because the cables aren't long enough. So let's just unplug that. We can swap it on them output wires under here. So we can just swap these two around as the simplest. And then it will go to the correct pins on the port. So maybe we did get them backwards when we were putting them on. And if it wasn't them, then it would have been the red, green and blue inputs here. One of these, but we measured them with a probe. So I think it's just them we've got mixed up. This should now be correct. I'm going to quickly power this up without the heatsink in case we have to do something else, because it'll be fine for a second. But we don't want to power it up for long. There we go, that's right. So get the heatsink on. And then, yeah, it does appear like this VA4 has quite a bit of noise, like a lot of noise on the RGB output. Overall game gear, what upgrades would you suggest? Clean screen and the battery pack. Yeah, to be honest, the main thing that people have is clean screen, and then second up after that, the clean juice. We do obviously. This is the wrong tip for this. Yeah, I really need the right tip for that one. Let me do the other one. We have the shells as well, new shells, and we have the audio and stuff, but by far the most popular is the clean screen first, because that nearly always dies. Yeah, just a screwdriver for now. No, it's actually, I think the metal's slightly cross-threaded in there. This will be getting a clean power anyway, so this one won't matter, because those heat sinks will be coming off, so I'll leave that for now to be good enough to turn on and test. So let's go to screen. There we go, and let's check it out. I guess Street Fighter again. Oh yeah, press start. Oh no, start's going to be the test suite now. So you can see in the test suite, these are the values I've got to. Again, this over brightness isn't actually over bright. It's this HDMI capture card I'm using, where I have to configure the video for each one. So bring that down to 0. That down. It all depends on what input it's capturing. That's more like what we'll be seeing. Color bars are correct now, red, green, blue, and white. You can see the whole range there is working. So this is all good, but those lines are the problem on this version. So all those nasty vertical lines, it's nothing to do with the clean RGB, that is actually clock noise or some other noise coming off the VA4. So that's what I want to fix, which is why we've installed it onto this. That's kind of the noise I want to fix. So I'm going to save that for the sub-only stream. That's where we'll diagnose and have a look at fixing that, and then I'll post the solution on retro6.wiki if we figure it out. Nobody's cleaned these lines up on the VA45, or sorry, the VA4 yet. They've got some way, which they've just cut traces and removed some noise, but I want to look at it under the scope, find out exactly where the noise is coming in, and try and fix it fully. We might not be able to, because there might be issues inside of the actual the custom ICs, like the Sega ICs. Sometimes they have the transistors embedded inside where the noise is, and there's not much you can do. But I've not looked at it yet, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to investigate that and fix that. And then I'll make a drop-in mod for this. So instead of having back down there, instead of having to do all this wiring, like we've just done, we can just have a nice, easy drop-in mod like the Mega Drive 2 one. So it'll just come with a little chip like this. Get this one over the top. So the Mega Drive 2, instead of being this big universal one now, is this little diddy board, and you don't need to tune any dials. This is already like pre-configured, perfect for a drop-in on the Mega Drive 2. Now we've got all the settings here that we know. I can make effectively a board like this that sits over the top of where we've put this chip and comes with pre-stripped wires, so the install's much easier. That's the goal of that one. Yeah, so that's it for this one, guys. Not many people on. I think we just need to be doing it a bit more regular. Like I said, I've not done the non-sub stream for like a week now, so I don't think YouTube's rather pushing it. Yeah, the sound I'm going to work on as well. I'm going to make a clean amp for this to fix the audio. The audio's got multiple problems as well. So the idea will be working through Mega Drives. I'll make a clean RGB for it. I'll figure out how to fix all this noise on this revision. And I'll also be fixing all the audio. So it'll redo the headphone jack, it'll redo the audio on the output, and it'll be correctly balanced. As well as having a separate headphone jack for testing as well, in case either of those are faulty. So I am working my way through doing mods for the Mega Drive, basically. Yeah, thanks for the nice comment. Glad you're liking it. And I'll probably be back on later for the subs to carry on working on this. Yeah, I've got to build another one for a customer first, but then this one will jump back on and probably have a look at doing this and using the scope and that, I think, later on today if I get time. So thanks everybody for joining in. I'll see you guys tomorrow or later on.